Welcome to Varsity Blue. Alex Prasad alongside Andy Baena and Scott Wagner, and perhaps the work in progress episode of Varsity Blue for 2009. Of course, I don't think any of us, or really anyone in their right mind, so maybe Lou Holtz thought this, but expected that Michigan would go undefeated this season.
No.
A win over Little Brother would have been nice, and thus ensues the discussion of, would you rather have a victory this upcoming week against Iowa in Iowa City or against the lesser Michigan State team? I don't know. I suppose it depends where you are from geographically. But quickly, guys, we'll start with you, Scott. Reaction to the first time in 552 years that Michigan has lost two straight to Michigan State.
I think it was the first in 42 years.
Yeah,
just
42,
an insane
46.
stat.
It's a little high, yeah.
Yeah, it was, like you were saying, Michigan wasn't going to go undefeated, but this wasn't a game that you really expected them to lose. But Michigan State brought their A game, and they played a great game, and they were just better than Michigan on Saturday.
I mean, we've been talking for weeks about some of the mistakes that have been very prevalent with this Michigan team. You're talking about, just defensive miscues, not to mention, ineptness on offense at times. But, it was bound to happen at one time or another, and it really stinks that this happened versus MSU. But, I mean, oh well, it's something that happened, and let's move forward and try to build on the loss, learn from it. Take a positive note out of it.
Well, first we have to relive it one more time. Let's take a look at the highlights and see exactly why we're talking about what we're talking about. Tate Forsythe with the shoulder hold up. Michigan State, of course, desperately needing a win at 1-3. Here, Kirk Cousins drops back to pass in just like the second or first play of the game, and there's my boy Stephen Brown with the interception right there. Sets up great field position for Michigan, but all they can get is a field goal out of it. Good pressure by Mike Martin on that play. Now, in the ensuing drive, Kirk Cousins looking like Mike Vick against this Michigan defense all day. Number of 30-plus yard runs. That one was a 10-plus yard run. And that drive's going to be capped off by Larry Caper with the 1-yard touchdown run on 4th and goal. Mount Antonio going for it there. 7-3 Michigan State. That was a 130-yard drive for Michigan State. Here's Tate Forsythe backed up in his own end zone. We're midway through the second quarter now, throwing up a prayer, and this time it's answered. Kevin Koger there, 41-yard gain. It set up another Michigan field goal, 7-3 after that drive. Now 10-6 after Michigan State picked up the field goal, and there Kirk Cousins again. Donovan Warren with the interception. That's 2 interceptions over the last 2 games, and Michigan holding strong here now in the third quarter. And then have to rip on the Ross School of Business right now, guys. I know both of you guys are students there, but Zoltan Mesko, poor cost-benefit analysis right there. Backed up on your own 13, down by 4. Rich Rod was a little bit confused too. I think stupid is the right word for that. Gives Michigan State 3 points they wouldn't have already had, and here, the fake bubble screen. Larry Caper takes it in, and there's a touchdown Michigan State early in the fourth quarter, 20-6. And things just kept looking worse and worse. Here on the third down, Denard Robinson looking totally lost. And that Michigan offensive line, a weakness all day long. Craig Jones with yet another tackle for loss. But amazingly, this Michigan team in the fourth quarter turned things around. Here's Brandon Graham with somewhat of a quiet game, but a forced fumble there. How this ball ends up in the air, I don't know, but Obi Eze catches it. Michigan recovers. Maybe a little bit of hope. Only 2 touchdowns, 11 minutes left. But Daryl Stoneham with a nice catch here, maybe going to get 2 or 3 extra yards. Not so fast. Fumble. It looked in real time for sure like he was down. When he watched the replay, he did cough it up. And again, the slight glimmer of hope for Michigan doesn't come through. Here's some sunshine for a change, and Daryl Stoneham had almost a carbon copy of the last play, except 20 yards farther upfield, runs 60 yards for the touchdown. It's basically just a kick return after he caught that ball. And Michigan awakening from their slumber with just 4 minutes left. And then on an epic drive in torrential downpour, Tate Forsythe running here and, of course, leaving his feet once again and is rewarded for it. One of these times, I'm telling you, he's going to get blown out of the water. In the torrential downpour, Michigan driving, down only 7 points. Tate rolling to his right, finding Roy Roundtree in the end zone. Touchdown, Michigan, to tie the game with only 2 seconds left. And who's this idiot in the back of the end zone, Andy?
I mean, as you can see, that person jumping up and down in the yellow jacket is Alex Prasad himself. Now watch as he jumps up and down rather foolishly. It's quite funny.
This is called journalistic integrity and lack of bias. I'm just jumping for no reason. I just needed to stretch the legs right there. So, sends the game into overtime. You can see the disgust of the guy in the background there. He was a nice guy, too, not an annoying Spartan fan. Here, 3rd and 5, ball on the 8-yard line. Tate Forsyth rolling right, looking like a freshman, and, small hole, tries to force it in there, and intercepted by Rucker back there for the Michigan State Spartans, and then has to be Larry Caper finishing it off for the Spartans. Maybe going for the strip, maybe just awful, awful tackling. Either way, it doesn't matter. Result, Michigan State wins 2 in a row against Michigan. There's all those stupid Spartan students. For the first time in about over 40 years for sure. And we can take a look now at the stats. Michigan has not won 2 in a row since 1967. There you go. That's the stat we're looking for. But, some comfort. Michigan's still leading that all-time series, 67-30-5. And did you know Michigan hasn't played an overtime game since that 2005 game where Braylon Edwards just destroyed Sparty single-handedly in 2005. So let's talk a little bit about this game, and you'll see the stats. Overwhelmingly, Michigan State held the ball for almost 2 times as much as Michigan did. There you go, almost 40 minutes to just over 20. Total yardage well in Michigan State's favor. And Kirk Cousins, not a great passing day with the 2 interceptions, but he had almost 60, 70 yards rushing. Let's start with the most perturbing stat, I think, from this game, and that's Carlos Brown and Brandon Minor, Andy. 10 carries. That's, a little disturbing that they only got 10 carries, but only 23 yards off those 10 carries, too. Why couldn't Michigan move the ball on the ground?
I mean, obviously, definitely missing Michigan Milk was a huge problem here, and it added to the ineffectiveness of the running game, with only 28 yards. But, I mean, you got to look at these senior running backs, and Carlos Brown as well as Brandon Minor. I mean, while they're only looking at 6 and 4 carries respectively, you need these seniors to be stepping up and really proving that it's MSU. They need to win, and they need to lead the team to a win. I just see them not getting the job done as unacceptable. And, like line or not, it doesn't matter.
Well, I would argue the offensive line, is important, but I agree with the sentiment that, the seniors need to step up, of course, on these big road games, especially the first road game of the season. But so this injury to Molk, Scott, ends up with a walk-on starting at right tackle, and that domino effect, it seems, played into Michigan's struggles, at least yesterday, or Saturday, excuse me.
Yeah, the walk-on Perry Dorstein is starting at right tackle, right end now, and that really is an issue because with the way the offense is set up, with the read option, when Tate Forsyth is looking to hand the ball off to Minor or Brown, he needs to be sure that when they get the ball, they can get through that hole that needs to be opened by Perry Dorstein or whoever's in that position. And it's just very difficult for a walk-on to do that, especially stepping into that environment. So really, you'd think it's just one guy, but especially at that position, it's really difficult to lose a player like David Molk and have to switch all those things over so that these guys can keep moving. It's very difficult on the running attack, and you've seen that the past 2 games. They've really been struggling offensively.
Yeah, you always talk about skill positions and having to replace those players, and how difficult it is for a new quarterback to come in or a new running back to come in. But linemen, too. I mean, there's a lot. It's not just, big guys running at each other, pushing each other around. There's a lot of strategy involved with that as well, especially with Mooseman's move, to tackle.